Now we want to bring in my friend and yours, Matthew Spendley, the Big Spend, for our talkback session. Matt has some questions from the listeners and the viewers. Matt, what's going on?
What's up, guys? I kind of view myself as your PJ Tucker, Ian. I feel like that's kind of my role. That's what I come here to do. I'm on the bench. I'm cheering you guys on, and then I come in at the end, garbage time. Just clean things up, hype you guys up. That's my role here.
I like it. You do it well.
Thanks, man. On the PJ Tucker stuff, though, Ian, because you're not one to take credit for it. I did want to give you credit because on the show, he was the guy that you consistently brought up to keep an eye on with the 15th man. So had to give you your flowers a little bit as your main hype man. Had to do it.
I appreciate it, Matt Tucker. Thank you.
Got you. All right. One thing I know we kind of skipped over earlier that's a big topic of discussion in the comments today, and then just generally is, Mitchell Robinson's return. Obviously, we spent a ton of time talking about him returning to the floor, being back with the Knicks. He's been back, limited minutes, but I think he looks like Mitch to me. Looks healthy. He's been running, contesting shots, obviously kind of changing the floor up. So, Mike, I want to start with you and then just go to Ian. What you guys have seen from Mitch, and then maybe a little more specifically, too, about him and Cat together.
Sure. Short and sweet on Mitch. I mean, active rim roller, which is what they've been lacking a little bit at times. An interior presence for them, both rebounding the ball and as a shot blocker to alter shots, even if he's not blocking shots. He's been everything defensively that they've needed. In terms of pairing him with Cat, Cat, I know he prefers to play the 4 at times, no question, but offensively, their floor spacing is better and the driving lanes are more open when Cat is at the 5 and they're playing 5 out. I just think in the playoffs, it gives Tom Thibodeau more optionality, which they're going to need if they want to try to go up against Boston and Cleveland. But Ian touched on it earlier. When Mitchell Robinson and OG and Anunoby are on the floor together, they're one of the top defensive teams. Offensively, you're going to take a little bit of a hit, but you can always go to the 5 out, have Josh Hart, Mikal, OG, Jalen, and Karl Towns. And if you need a little bit of a spark offensively and you're down or you're just trying to blow a game open.
Yeah, I think Michael hit what I was going to say about Mitchell Robinson and Karl Anthony Towns. But in terms of how he's looked, to me, this, Mitchell Robinson has come back from injuries in the past. And there was one year where he didn't have the opportunity to do a ton of conditioning. And he came back and he really needed some time to get his conditioning back and to get into top shape. But to me, this year, he looks significantly lighter. He's moving really well. So that's what I look at early on. Is he hesitant at all? He hasn't been hesitant. He's been physical without a second thought. And that's kind of what you look at here for me with Robinson. Now, the timing is going to continue to improve. The endurance is going to continue to improve. But 4 steals last night against Sacramento. So he's disrupting things even as he's getting his timing back. So if he can stay healthy and continue to progress, it just gives you an added element that the Knicks on the defensive end have been missing for much of the year.
And still lots of runway before the playoffs too. So, he can continue getting his feet under him. One last point I just wanted to say, not exactly a question, more a point kind of based on the wing conversation you guys are having too. I feel like Anunoby's kind of been the main guy that's changed his game a little bit more. I think some of those possessions since Brunson's gone down, he's obviously not the most, decorated isolation scorer, but they've clearly given him some of those possessions. And Ian, you mentioned Mikal against Sacramento too. Getting to the free throw line at the frequency they did. I also thought last night, he had a couple drives that he welcomed contact. And that's something that has been a big discussion all year, that he's oftentimes shot away from it. And he had a couple drives where he finished and then one where he had a dunk. So, you kind of hope that that's something that can port over once Brunson's back. But just a couple of observations from the bench as you guys were chatting. So that's what I got, Ian. That's what I got.
Thank you, Mr. Spendley. I think both OG and Bridges, maybe they had 8 assists each, or it was close to that.
Like 8
was really moving well against Sacramento. Mr. Scotto, what's the biggest kind of swing in the? What are you looking at in the East with respect to the Knicks the rest of this regular season? What should we be watching out for?
They got to stay healthy. Like OG, I touched on it earlier with you. He's been an X factor for them, worth every penny. I know that raised a lot of eyebrows, especially when he was making more than Jalen Brunson. But
significantly more, yeah.
Yeah, but hey, big picture, the free market dictated that, and Philadelphia, it would have been an interesting conversation if they got him instead of Paul George. that's a different conversation for another day as well. But a fun what if.
Yes.
For the Knicks, continuing to see Mitchell Robinson's progression coming back, and eventually is, and I think the answer is probably no, and I'm sure you would agree, but is Tom Thibodeau ever going to lengthen the rotation just a little bit to save these guys for the playoffs? I've seen no evidence of that for the past few years. And Tibbs, if you ever wanted to squeeze an orange and have no pulp, like Tom Thibodeau would be the guy. He squeezes the most out of every regular season, all out for sure. So, look, I think the Knicks have definitely a puncher's chance. I think obviously Boston and Cleveland have been the top tier of the East, but the Knicks, you can't ever discount Jalen Brunson. He's one of the most clutch players. And Karl Towns is that kind of 1A, 1B to Jalen where they have a shot offensively every night. So just looking for continued health and to see who can kind of continue to step up the way Deuce McBride has a little bit.